Good morning, everybody. I'm curious, did the department here, is Commissioner Rogers gonna be on today? I don't see him on yet. I haven't heard any different.
Yes, he's getting on.
Okay. I'll give him a couple more minutes here. There he is. All right, with that, I see Shane's on now. So I'm going to call to order the meetings of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners for Tuesday, April 11th, 2023. And I will ask Commissioner East to lead us in the pledge.
Do we have a flag?
I can get one.
I have one too here. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Betty.
Thank you. Will the department take the roll?
Chairman Caviglia,
Here.
Vice Chair Rogers,
Here.
Commissioner Barnes,
Here.
Commissioner Booth,
Here.
Commissioner East,
Here.
Commissioner Keel,
Here.
Commissioner McNinch,
Here.
Commissioner Walter,
Here.
Commissioner Wise.
Here.
All right, thank you. Will any county advisory board members in attendance, I guess, please just raise your hand in the. See Joe Krim, Corey Lytle. All right. With that, we will go to agenda item number 2, approval of the agenda. For possible action, the commission will review the agenda and may take action to approve the agenda. The commission may remove items from the agenda, continue items for consideration, or take items out of order. I guess, has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda, and does anyone have any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, any cab comments or questions on the agenda? I don't see any cab comments, and I see we have public comment on the agenda. I saw it, or maybe not now. Any public comment on the agenda, please raise your hand. Okay, I see Jana Wright, I guess. Okay, go ahead, Jana.
Thank you, Chair Caviglia and commissioners. I just wanted to let you know that the agenda is not posted on the NDOW website. Luckily, I'm on Megan's listserv and she let me know about this meeting. And I did find it on nv.gov that allowed me to find the backup material. So just an FYI. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any additional public comment on the agenda? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Vice Chair Rogers.
Yes, if there's no additional discussion, I'd go ahead and make a motion for approval of the agenda for today's virtual meeting of April 11th as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by Vice Chair Rogers, second by Commissioner Walther. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 3, Legislative Committee Report. Committee Chairwoman Tiffany East for possible action. A report will be presented on the committee's recent meetings. The commission may review bills of interest and any associated amendments, consider legislative committee recommendations, and may take official positions on those bills. The commission may also choose to develop platforms on bills by supporting or opposing general concepts. Bill and BDR language may be viewed online. Yeah, I'm not going to attempt to read that. So with that, Committee Chairwoman East.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. We have a couple of bills that are new that were introduced in the last about 10 days. And then we have a couple of, I just wanted to provide some updates. So is Kaylee on? Do you want to help me walk through this, the list, Kaylee?
Yes. Do you want me to just go through it, or did you want to start?
You can just, if we can just start at the top of the tracking sheet, the commission tracking sheet.
Yes. So SB 334 was heard on Monday, April 3rd. That bill is pretty straightforward. It just revises the definition of renewable energy. For the purposes of the portfolio standard, the department and the committee have no position on this bill. I'm just going to keep moving until someone stops me. Okay, SB 176 was heard on March 23rd. The bill creates an account for purchasing and retiring water rights. There was an amendment proposed by the Nature Conservancy, which addresses administration and is attached. Oh, sorry, I don't know actually if I attached that to your guys' support material. It's attached to the Legislative Committee support material. But the department and the committee don't have a stance on that. Assembly Bill 102 was heard on March 15th. The bill prohibits organizing and sponsoring contests and tournaments which animals are taken for prize. An amendment was submitted by Assemblyman Watts, which adds additional species. Those species are badger, crow, raccoon, and ring-tailed cat. The commission right now is neutral on this bill, and there has been no further action taken.
Stop there for a second. Does anybody have questions on AB 102? Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
Okay. SB 311, which is the junior tag transfer and online hunter education bill, was heard on Tuesday, April 4th. This bill would require the commission to establish a program for anyone to transfer a tag to a junior hunter. There was a conceptual amendment offered during the hearing that would change the language to say resident junior hunter. The bill also requires the hunter safety course be made available to everyone online. There was quite a bit of discussion on this bill, particularly regarding the hunter safety portion during our last committee meeting. Ultimately, the committee decided to support the bill with a proposed amendment of including a hands-on requirement for all youth hunters. So that is where the committee went on this bill, but I did speak to Deputy Attorney General Burkett after our committee meeting, and we don't believe that the commission has the ability to require an in-person firearm safety portion. So that would have to be amended into the bill language. It sounds like in order for the committee to support the bill. But I'll pause there because I anticipate some discussion on this.
Thank you. So we did have quite a bit of discussion, and I have spoken with Mr. Flowers, and I'm not sure if he's on today or not. I don't see him, but he even felt that the hands-on portion, the field work on this hunter safety for youth is really important. And he mentioned that to the bill sponsor, Senator Hansen. Senator Hansen, my understanding is he felt like we did it in 2020 and didn't require the field work. So wasn't convinced that we need to include it. I think the committee felt pretty strongly about it, considering there are several gun safety bills in the legislature right now. But I'll pause there and let everybody kind of catch up and ask questions and provide thoughts. Anyone have any thoughts?
I guess I kind of agree with the committee. I like the bill. I like the tag transfer, being able to create something to do a tag transfer for the juniors. But I do think it's beneficial to have at least some sort of hands-on hunter safety class. And even if it's I know some of the discussion I heard is that people are having a hard time attending the classes, just finding availability. And one thought I had heard on that was that if they split the class up, like you did a portion of it online and you did a portion of it, you'd still have to do a portion of it in person. Something like that, I absolutely wouldn't have a problem with. But I agree. I think for the juniors, there should be some in-person component to the hunter safety. Those are my thoughts, at least.
Was there a comment, I think, in your meeting about being a resident of the state of Nevada? Is that only Nevada residents as well?
Yes, it is. It's the amendment would state in that first section, it would read, the commission shall adopt regulations establishing a program which authorizes a person to transfer his or her tag to hunt a big game mammal to a resident junior hunter, not any person who is under the age of 18. So it would only transfer to a resident junior hunter.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner McNinch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the aspects to this too was the I'm sorry, I've lost my spot for about 2 seconds. The idea that we could saturate the system with people putting in, that's a big concern. And for me, I guess I'm on the fence with it from that standpoint. I'd hate to see the system be gained with people, with a lot more people putting in just to transfer one tag, to get a tag to transfer to a youth somewhere. Do you see what I'm saying with that? And I think that's a real concern. It's an unintended consequence that could create some challenges. And I think that we should, just be thinking of that along the way here in case we've got to do something about it. I mean, we know people are going to, it's unfortunate, but there'll be somebody that takes advantage of that. I think that we're going to have to be prepared to act if this thing goes through and to close those loopholes. So.
There was quite a bit of discussion about the abuse, the potential abuse of this program. And I think that would be, as Commissioner McNinch said, up to the commission in writing the regulation, what criteria you establish. Maybe it's a one-time transfer for the person and their junior, or maybe it's a one-time for either or, but there is some concern about that. Any other questions?
Commissioner Keel.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And Dave brings up a good point. I was kind of thinking about it from, the opposite side of that people really have some equity built up in points, and maybe there's some hunters that are actually aging out that would put in, draw, and then transfer and potentially not put back in at a later date. It'd be interesting to see, how that does play out. But yeah, I was kind of curious to the department's thoughts on, if this program could actually solve some of the point creep issues that are ongoing, or, how they think this is going to play out. And just to clarify, I think it's right when Commissioner East read the revised statute, but it would not limit the transfer of the tag by any degree of consanguinity, like we talked about before. It's any junior hunter, correct? Okay.
It's really, in talking with Mr. Flowers, it really is meant to potentially recruit, although I think there will be some junior hunters that are already in the system. But it could potentially recruit, a neighbor or a nephew or a grandchild whose parents maybe don't hunt, but the adult hunter, wants to get that junior into the field.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
And I definitely think there's opportunity to game the system, quote unquote. But they also have a short window to do that, right? It's between 12 and 18. They have to draw the tag. I would imagine, I think how, like Arizona, how you're set up, if you transfer that tag, you still lose your points. So it's just like you'd hunted the tag yourself. So it's not like where we were gaming it before and they were, turning the tags back in, stuff like that. But I think with our junior hunting opportunities, I think Nevada's going to continue to gain more residents, and as of right now, our junior opportunities are diminishing. So this is just another avenue to try to get tags to juniors. It's kind of my thoughts on it. And I see Director Janae's hand up. So.
Yeah, thank you. I just, if you'd like, Chairman, I can kind of speak to this a little bit. But looking at this is the way I look at this bill is that it's just opening the door, and the NRS will allow you guys to develop that tag transfer program for juniors. Right now, there isn't enough of an understanding on what would come in the regulation development and the NAC to really answer what it would do as far as pluses and minuses as far as demand, because that would be in the rulemaking process that you guys go through, that would really lay out the specificity of, the particulars of, is it, are they only allowed, if they've got a tag that year, are you allowed to transfer a tag to them? Or is it somebody that doesn't have a tag that year? And how many times can a youth get a tag? And those kinds of things. And so I think this bill just opens the door to this conversation and allows you that ability, should it be passed and become law, that you guys could then dive into the particulars of how that would be implemented.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Commissioner McNinch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, like I said, I'm still supportive, but my support is definitely contingent on the hunter education course, that there be some form of in-person, whether it's an hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, whatever the department thinks is important. I shared it in the committee meeting when my oldest boy was took the hunter's education class. It was the first year he was eligible, whatever year that, 10, I guess. And he and a friend went, and after the class, the instructor kind of pulled me and the other boy's mom aside and shared with us how interactive they were, and how the hands-on portion, that they had really engaged the whole room with questions and curiosity. And what they brought to the table was, they brought a bunch of people that didn't think they needed to be there into this huge conversation, apparently. And he said they added so much to the class and to the course just by their curiosity and being able to interact and ask questions, and the hands-on portion where they could take things apart. And it was really valuable. And I think it would be kind of naive of us if we thought that kids were getting that from the people in their lives, because they don't. There's certainly a lot of kids that do, but to think that that's occurring across the board, it's not. There are people involved. There are kids that want to get involved whose parents don't even have no interest in it, don't even own guns. They've never been around them. And it would be critical for them to have that experience and to have that interaction and that hands-on training. So my support is definitely contingent on there being that hands-on portion with the gun safety and gun handling.
Commissioner Barnes.
I guess I have the same comments as far as the safety class, that I think it's really important to keep that the in-class portion of the hunter safety, really for the same reasons that Dave just mentioned. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I feel the same way on that part.
Any additional questions or comments? I would think we do want to take a stance on this one. So I'll see if there's any, do we have any cab comment on, was it SB 311? See Corey Lytle. Go ahead, Corey.
This is Corey Lytle speaking for myself. I just want to echo what Mr. Janae said in regard to the tag transfer. You know, from what I remember, this originally started out of White Pine with the idea that a parent could transfer it to their kid. I just think as we go to create reg on this, that all those doors need to be closed. There's so much money out there, and there's so much willingness to sell tags and to make money and do those types of things. I think it can be manipulated in 1,000 different ways. And I know it seems like as much as we try to address all those issues, it seems like as soon as you get done addressing them, something else pops up that nobody thought about. And people try to work the system. So I just want to make that comment that I hope we can make the program successful. The intent, of course, is trying to get new hunters, get people involved, but we just need to be aware of that. My second comment, I want to mirror what Commissioner McNinch and Commissioner Barnes said about the practical side of that, hunter safety. I think it's super important. Those kids go into a classroom, they get some hands-on, they get some interaction with adults that have been teaching the course. My son did hunter safety this year. He did the online computer workbook, which was fantastic. He had a great time at the class. It was a good thing. I think we owe it to our wildlife for those people to spend 4 or 5 or 6 hours in a classroom learning hands-on. Just a couple quick comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Corey. Any additional cab comment? All right, seeing none, any public comment? All right, I don't see any, so I'll bring it back to the commission.
If everybody's ready, I would, I'll put a motion together. Yep, okay. So I move to approve SB 311, the junior tag transfer and online hunter education bill, with an amendment that states that we will support the bill only if the hands-on fieldwork portion is included in the amendment.
I'd second that.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner East, second by Commissioner Walther. All those in favor, please say aye. Or raise your hand so I can see. All right,
Okay.
motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for that. On SB 269, it was heard on March 28th. The committee discussed this briefly. Commissioner Walters had concerns that hunters were unaware of the portion that removes the exemption for tethering a dog for hunting purposes. This bill would make it illegal to do that during extreme weather events. So extreme heat advisories or cold advisories. He did ask me to kind of do some digging to see if the hunting community was aware. I did look at the Facebook groups for the hunting pages and didn't see any discussion on this bill. I did look at there was also no public comment from the hunting community on this, but the opinions submitted on SB 269, there's 26 opinions on here, and 69% of them are in opposition to it. But it doesn't show me like who submitted those opinions or who they're affiliated with. So I just wanted to point that out. And I don't know if you guys want to discuss this bill or not, but the committee just voted to watch this bill.
Mr. Walter.
Yeah, so during our legislative meeting, I mean, I just caught, historically, there was, on the 12-foot tether length requirement, there was an exception for hunting and training. That said, I just looking at it and knowing how many individuals run their bird dogs or duck dogs, et cetera, thought that some of the sportsman community would have concerns. I've reached out to a few individuals, hey, have you guys caught wind of this, et cetera? And quite frankly, have received nothing back. I do know we also discussed that the coalition had this bill on their agenda. And I don't know if that portion just was simply missed. Again, I've not had anything circle back on that, or what. I mean, I think the bill in itself is well intentioned, in terms of animal welfare, but, really was wondering if the sportsman's community had reservations in regards to that particular portion. And unfortunately haven't received feedback one way or the other in regards to that.
Yeah, I sat through the coalition meeting last week and there was no discussion about it. So I think it's kind of snuck by. I'm not sure if this bill is going to get out of committee. It hasn't been scheduled for a work session just yet, and that has to be done this week by Friday. Just an update. I think Commissioner Booth may have had a comment.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, Mario. I spoke to some of my buddies that hunt and feel that it's a bill that isn't worthy of having as a state law. Most of the dog owners use common sense in how they control their dogs. And I don't know about a 12-foot, I didn't see anything here about the length of the leash, but to me, that'd be hard to control the length of a leash if you had to cite anyone in that regard. So personally, I'm not in favor of this. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments, or I guess, do we believe we need to take a stance on this one right now?
We put it as a watch. We always have the ability to comment on it if it gets into the next house, into the assembly. If we do have a strong opinion about it, I can always shoot an email or a letter over to the chair of the committee and just let them know that we're opposed to it. But I think right now we decided to watch it. I'll just leave it up to everybody else to determine whether the commission wants to take a position.
All right. I'm not seeing many. I think we'll just leave it as a watch unless anybody has looks like I see heads nodding. So it means that we're not going to do anything. I don't believe I need to take it out for public comment. We'll just keep going.
Okay. SB 141 was brought by Senator Hansen. The committee discussed whether or not to take a position on the bill after discussions with Senator Hansen. proved that he was unaware of the ability to show a screenshot or a PDF of the license, and that the department did not have the ability to pull up a person's license from a database in all areas of the state. This bill would have eliminated the requirement to carry a physical license on your person. The committee voted to oppose the bill as written, but would support the idea of demonstrating proof of a license in some other manner.
I think we discussed this at our meeting in March. And so I just wanted to, we wanted to bring it back to see if there was any further concern or discussion on this one.
Yeah, I think the commission, the commission itself opposed it, correct, originally?
Mhm.
So does anybody have any further comments or discussion? Commissioner McNinch?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did we actually take a position?
It says no position, but I thought we took a position to oppose this at our commission meeting in March.
In our committee meeting, we did take a position because we were expecting an amendment. So we kind of just sat on it. And when that amendment didn't show up, we developed a platform to support the idea of showing a license on a device or screenshot, whatever that might be, progressing to the electronic type licensing,
Right.
but not do away with the requirement to exhibit the license or permit at all, which is what this bill says. It doesn't, this bill just flat does away with that requirement to exhibit the license and permit. I think, I think there were concerns that this had a different angle to it. Really wasn't towards, progressing our system getting into the 21st century. It had to do with people's rights to, not show licenses. And I think that we need to at least clarify, if nothing else, that our position is that we support being progressive with our licensing system so that we can, that there might be other ways for people to demonstrate they have a license, but in no way would I support the bill as it's currently written. It's dangerous.
It's dangerous, yeah.
No, and I agree. And I think maybe I was confused, Dave, on that, looking back here on our notes. So Commissioner Walter.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with the, concerns echoed. I kind of view this, my understanding is this is really historically the only place. It doesn't necessarily have to be a criminal penalty, could be administrative function, et cetera. But the bill as written is, scenario being a warden shows up, someone doesn't have a license, end of story. The way it is proposed currently. I certainly do believe that, the system should be modernized in the sense of you can show a screenshot or an electronic version. Obviously, we're all aware law enforcement at this juncture with the geography of the state doesn't always have the ability to follow up on an individual and check a license. I think, and there's probably variations to this, but the better case scenario, whether it be a criminal penalty or administrative function back to us when and if there was a violation, is that, you have the ability to show a permit via screenshot or electronic means, but you also, because of the geography to the public and cell reception, would likely desire to have, a 30, 60-day period, whatever, where an individual was required to maybe not, as it historically is written, come back to the court with proof, but at least to the department. As it's written now, you get checked, you don't have one, and what's done is done. And so that's where my concern is there's absolutely zero follow-up in a scenario where proof is not shown.
Who, maybe Director Janae, because I don't see our chief game warden on. Can you tell us what the process is? Do people get a warning first and then they get cited? How does that work? Do you know?
Christy Knight is in attendance.
Yes.
And we'll be moving her to panelist. Here she is.
Okay, there she is. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Christy Knight, for the record. It's not a warning site. It depends on the circumstances all together. If they don't have it and they say they do, then we do try to do everything that we can to find out if they do have it, if we have radio reception or not. If we cannot determine it, then they can be written for failing to have one, but they possibly do. And then when they go into court, it can be dismissed out. So it all depends on the circumstances and how they explain it, and if there's a likelihood that they do have it or not.
And Christy, just real quick, so as it currently stands, if someone shows up with proof, the bill as written is it can be dismissed, but that then becomes an absolute function of prosecutorial discretion, correct?
That does. It's up to the judge if they want to dismiss it or if they want to go into court to even fight it. So yes, that's all up to them. But we also do have an AMS app, and that's downloaded on our phone, and it's up to date for the most part. So if they can look it up in that system, because it's downloaded to your phone, if they update it right before they leave out of town, they can look in that as well, and to try and verify if they have a license or not.
Okay, any other questions for Christy while we have her? Okay.
So I guess we probably do want to take a formal commission stance on this one. Is what I'm. All right. So with that, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to let you know that this one has not yet received a work session either. And so it's likely it could get one this week, but if not, it will die in committee. So it probably would be beneficial to have a formal position just in case.
Okay. So with that, I'll take it out for a cab comment real quick. If there's any cab comment on
SB 141.
SB 141. Yeah, thank you. Any cab comment? All right, seeing none, any public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission.
Yeah, I feel, this is just my perspective, I feel like we should have some burden of proof on the person. We don't drive a car without a license, and you're cited if you don't have it when you're pulled over or stopped by law enforcement. I just feel that, you know, we put our wardens out there every day, and they come in contact with someone with a weapon more than likely. And I just feel like that's an important aspect of their privilege to hunt. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be. I don't like the bill as written. I think there should be some sort of proof in the field, even and if it's even changing the language to something electronic. But as written, yeah, I don't agree with it.
Would the electronic function be sufficient, Director Janae and or Ms. Knight?
What was that question again?
Would an electronic function be sufficient if we asked for an amendment to this bill? So that if they had it on their phone as a photo, would that be sufficient?
Yeah. Thank you. That helps. I was thinking an electronic image, I'll pose it to Christy, but I believe if they have an image or a capture, anything that can display that they have possession of a license would probably suffice, but I will pose that to Christy, Chief Knight.
Yes, Christy Knight for the record. Yes, we allow that currently anyways. If they have it on their phone, if they have a picture of it, we do allow that. For the license, not the tag.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Now, Christy, I just want to follow up on that. So I mean, this bill, you know, as we're discussing is saying, perhaps we'd support it with electronic proof or screenshot. Would law enforcement still like to see, you know, in a scenario in which somebody can't produce that on site, a period of time requiring showing of proof?
I don't think I understand your question. What do you mean period of time to show the proof?
Well, so currently as it stands, they have 30 days to either show up to court with proof. I'm not saying it necessarily has to be that function, but let's say you encounter an individual that doesn't physically have it on them and doesn't have the ability to produce a screenshot or electronic proof. Their phone's dead, they left it in the truck, whatever the situation is. Would the department still desire to see a function in which the person has a period of time to produce proof to either the court or the department?
So if they do it to the court, then that means that they were issued a citation, which if we cannot prove it in the field, then they'll either be warned or get a citation. I have done it a time or two where they can text me a picture of it, but that's not a standing normal. Because we do have a year to issue a citation, but to go back, because some people don't live in the state, then we can't issue a citation out of state. So there's a lot of things, it's complex. And I don't think we should put in there that they have a month to get it to us. I think, because that takes obviously more of our time and then we have to go back and follow up if they don't provide it to us.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is if we're sitting here supporting this bill with the amendment of the ability to show electronic proof via any means, this bill gets rid of the penalty, so there would be no citation.
If they cannot provide proof that they have the license, then there would still be a violation. Because if their phone goes dead, that's on them for not having it up and charged. So they still have to provide proof, and even if it's on their phone, they still have to have that charge to be able to show it to us.
Okay.
Commissioner McNitch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When we reached out to get clarification on what this bill was all about, we were basically informed that it was an effort to kind of modernize the system, as Commissioner Walter, I like that term, the modernization aspect. That's not what this bill says at all. So from my standpoint, I'm concerned that there was an ulterior thought behind this, and it had to do more with eliminating people's requirement to demonstrate who they are in the field. And I personally support the concept of modernizing our permitting system. And as Christy mentioned, they're already doing some of this to try to give a little bit of slack for the fact that some folks are a little bit better about carrying stuff on their phone and might have that opportunity or the ability to show a license on a phone. So if we want to support a platform that we would support a statute that allows for that kind of activity and allows it's it allows people to comply in that fashion to kind of solidify it. I'm all for it, but the way that this regulation is written now, this statute is written now, I don't know how you would amend this to support it. So from my mind, we support a platform that would allow the modern or kind of push the modernization of our permitting system, and being able to demonstrate that you have a license, but not support this bill the way it's written at all. That's just where I stand on it.
Commissioner Wise.
I have to agree. As written, it seems like by trying to add in the ability to show it on your phone or whatever, we're actually still removing the core of what we're already doing, when in reality, we simply should be adding language to what already exists that clarifies that an electronic version of your license is acceptable. But what we're looking at right now just completely eliminates the processes that exist, it feels like to me. And I just think that would mean that it really needs to be in opposition.
Yeah, and I agree as well with both of you. So with that,
And there's,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, let me just clarify. There has been no proposed amendment offered. So I just checked again online and there's no proposed amendment.
All right, with that, does anybody want to make a motion? Commissioner McNitch?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that we support the concept of modernizing our permitting system to allow sportsmen, licensees to demonstrate that they have the proper licenses and permits. The idea, we would support that, but that we do not support SB 141 as it's currently written.
Yeah, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second. So I have a motion from Commissioner McNitch, second from Commissioner Wise. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Keep going.
Thank you. Assembly Bill 387 was heard on March 29th. The bill asks the state engineer to consider the best available science when rendering decisions on ground and surface water. A clarifying amendment was offered by Assemblyman Watts. There's been no position taken on this bill. Assembly Bill 221 was heard on March 13th and passed as amended on April 5th. The bill provides NDOW the authority to manage invertebrates as designated by the SGCN list in the Wildlife Action Plan. An amendment was proposed to strike the word terrestrial. The department did ask for that, and it was supposed to be drafted that way from the beginning. The commission does support this bill, and the committee did not change that position. AB 112 is the wildlife crossings bill. We just wanted, as a committee, to clarify that there were two amendments offered, that the committee does still support the bill. I'll pause in case there's any questions on that.
The amendments adopted upon passage define wildlife and require NDOT and NDOW to work with grazing permit holders and private landowners. I think I have that.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, I'll keep going. Assembly Bill 70 was heard on March 15th and passed. Oh.
Commissioner McNinch had a question.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. So when we have a change like that on a bill that we've supported, are we concerned that our support might be nullified a little bit by the fact that we have an amendment now? Because I don't think any of us are opposed to the amendment moving forward. It is an important bill. Are we still good moving forward if we had to testify tomorrow? Madam Chair, I guess I'd kind of leave your thoughts on that because you've had a lot of experience with this. So
I'm comfortable with the amendment, but that's why I wanted to have Kaylee open it up. So does anyone else have concerns with the amendment proposed? And I would look to Commissioner Barnes and or Commissioner Keel.
Yeah, I think I'm good with it.
Okay. I want to say the other amendment, and I apologize, I thought I had it printed out. It removed the allowance for livestock to use not the allowance. I don't know. Let me look it up really.
So Madam Chair, it
remove-
says the term wildlife is, so it defined the term wildlife
Right.
to move away from the ability to use that money for domesticated or feral animal wildlife
Right.
process.
Yes.
Right, and that was correct. The language is, it doesn't outright prohibit, or make it illegal if a group of cows cross it. It just clarifies it is not the intent of these programs or crossings to be utilized for feral or domesticated animals.
Right.
To build them for the specifically for those initially, I guess is the.
So if everyone's.
And I guess my question goes back to, we've taken a position to support it. It's been amended. Do we need to update our support for it because there's been amendments added, I guess is what I'm asking. I'm comfortable with what we've done, but at the same time, I want to make sure we can say that we support it clear up through the amendments so far.
Doesn't look like we have concerns. So, okay, as is. All right.
Okay. Assembly Bill 70 was heard on March 15th and passed as amended from the committee yesterday, April 10th. This bill revises the use of the $3 predator fee. There was a conceptual amendment proposed to let the user designate the use of the fee. That would require the department to use the proceeds as directed by the applicant for either developing and implementing a program for the lethal removal of predatory wildlife or wildlife management activities for the protection of non-predatory game species and their habitats. The commission voted to oppose the bill. There has been no further action since yesterday's passage from the committee, but I would expect it to go to the floor for a vote soon.
And we're still opposed. Okay. So we're still opposed.
Okay. I will move on. Senate Bill 88 was heard on February 16th. This bill would require a study to be done on state agencies and boards to include the Wildlife Commission. The commission has not taken a position on this bill, but there has been no further action taken as of yet. Okay. Senate Bill 90 was passed as amended on April 4th and will be sent to the floor for a vote. The amendment provides the designation complies with the Wild and Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act. The commission already has voted to oppose this bill. Okay. Let's see. Senate Bill 159 was heard on April 4th. This bill provides an opportunity for provisional licensing in the pest control industry. I was just gonna tell you guys that the committee voted to discontinue tracking this, so it was moved to the bottom of the list. Senate Bill 338 is the OHV bill. The committee briefly discussed this bill, but it defines a utility vehicle and provides a speed limit of 45 miles per hour on the highway. There's no position on this bill. The committee did not have any concerns with it, though.
Does anyone have thoughts on this one? Okay.
Okay, Senate Bill 312 is the taking of a carcass and shed antlers bill. There's a lot of discussion on this bill by the committee. Ultimately, the committee would like to see the bill passed with an amendment that would provide the commission with the authority to regulate both deadheads and shed antlers. No one on the committee wanted to see the current shed antler regulations going away, though. So ultimately, this committee voted to support the bill with a conceptual amendment.
This bill has had a hearing, but has not been scheduled for a work session. So it's likely that it will not pass out of committee this week. But the original bill did nullify our shed antler regulations, and we had strong opinions about that. We worked really hard on those. There were some other areas of concern as well. And I reached out to Director Janae and to Dag Burkett about it. It touches a variety of different statutes and NACs. So we would have to completely revamp some of those, but we could support the original intent. This was brought by Mr. Belding to Senator Hansen. The original intent was to allow for someone who comes across a dead head in the field to go through the normal channels of, picking it up, getting it investigated, and then receiving approval to go ahead and make some sort of furniture piece out of it that could be sold at one of our NGO events to raise money for wildlife. So currently, and Director Janae, please clarify if I'm wrong. Currently, if they come across a dead head, they have to receive a letter allowing, they still have to go through the investigation, but they receive a letter that states that they can use that dead head for the use of a furniture. This regulation, or this bill as written, removes it removes the shed antler regulation. It adds in a person may take or gather shed antlers and heads with antlers attached for personal non-commercial use. So there's just a lot of concerns with this one in particular as it's presented.
As far as the particulars, as far as the enforcement currently around this, I can have Chief of Law Enforcement Christy Knight speak to it. But yeah, there have been the department, we've talked to Senator Hansen and to the folks, working on this, and we've proposed amendments, but like you say, is currently we haven't seen where this has been scheduled for a hearing. So tough to know if it'll move forward within the week. Christy, do you mind just giving an overview of how the deadhead process currently works?
Currently, how the deadhead process works is they are supposed to take pictures and get GPS coordinates for us. And then they meet us at the office, give us all the information. We ask them to send the pictures prior to picking up the head, but a lot of them just come in with the head. And then we have to do the background investigation on it. If we can tell it's really old, we actually don't go out into the field and look into it. We request the pictures of it, and then we fill out the form and give it to them, letting them know that they can't sell it, they can't do anything like that. It does not get plugged. They just have a form from us that says they can possess it, but they cannot sell it. If it's something bigger or that was killed by human causes, we do not allow them to have it, and they just relinquish it to us, or they leave it in the field as it is. So there are a few that we do have to investigate, but there have not been very many that we've had to go out and do full-on investigations on currently. There are some biologists that do this as well, especially out of Winnemucca. They take them in, look at them, and do the form as well.
Any thoughts, questions on this one? Oh, thanks, Director Janae.
I was just thanking Christy. Yeah, no more to say here.
Commissioner Wise?
Yeah, I guess I have a follow-up question for Christy. I am not very familiar with the regulations currently as they exist for shed antlers. And so I guess my curiosity right now revolves around the licensing requirement for what you just described.
The license for the deadheads.
Mhm.
Technically, we have nothing that we've allowed this, but there's nothing in writing that actually says that they can. We have just allowed this with this form because we've had so many requests for it. So technically, it's not written anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess for me, it probably wouldn't hurt at some point to have something in writing on the deadheads, because I know it's kind of a gray area, but I know a lot of people pick them up. There's a lot of people that pick them up that don't turn them into the department either. It's just it's the fact, and it's probably even department staff that have picked them up. Probably everybody we know has picked one up at one time or two, you know. It probably wouldn't hurt at some point to have it, the shed antler thing. To try to say the non-commercial use, that one there for me is like that's a deal breaker, because I know individuals that don't sell elk antlers that pick up more antlers than anybody that would say that they're commercial, you know. So that would just give somebody the opportunity to completely skirt our shed antler regulation. And I think a winter like this is exactly why you want to have the shed antler regulation. Even though I know there's people that, like everything, there's bad apples. There's bad apples out there right now that are skirting it. But yeah, I mean, I understand what they wanted to do here with the bill, and I do think we probably at some point need something on deadheads, you know, defined in writing, more formal. But yeah, as written, I think it definitely has some issues. I mean, I would approve the concept of some of it with exceptions, kind of like it sounds like the committee did. But that's kind of where I'm at. Any additional questions or comments? Or, I mean, I guess for Commissioner East, do you believe the commission should, even though it sounds like this bill may die, should we take a formal stance in case it does pop back up?
I feel like we should, just in case.
Yep.
You just never know. And I don't know. I don't see Mr. Belding on this morning either. So I just feel like I think, you know, as it's presented, and I don't see a whole lot of amendments coming around. Senator Hansen wasn't real. He wanted to know our concerns, but he wasn't as willing to amend the bill as we requested. And so I don't know that we could even get him to amend it at this late date. So
10-4. Well, is there any additional commission comments, questions? All right, seeing none, I'll take it out for cab comment. Any cab comment specific to SB 312? I don't see anybody. Any public comment on SB 312? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission.
and I guess I would move to oppose SB 312 as presented.
Okay, motion by Commissioner East, second by Commissioner McNitch. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Looks like we lost Eddie there, but the motion carries 8. Let's see if Eddie gets back on.
And I think if this comes back around, we can definitely talk about it and propose an amendment if it gets to the assembly.
Okay, so the motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Booth not voting. It's off the screen right now, so we will proceed.
Okay, thank you guys. SB 421 provides tax abatements for certain renewable energy facilities and provides a definition for microgrids. There is currently no position on the bill, but there has been no further movement. AB 349, the Wildlife Conservation Fund Program. This bill establishes the Nevada Wildlife Conservation Fund Program. This program provides an account to accept tax-exempt donations to be used for the preservation, protection, and management of wildlife. The board would be created to help manage the use of the funds, similar to the way the Dream Tag Board operates. An amendment was offered that would remove 2 members appointed by legislators. Another amendment was put forward before the vote yesterday by Tina Nappy that would have the commission give guidance to the department on expenditures. This bill was passed as amended out of the committee yesterday afternoon. Oh, and the committee does support the bill with the proposed amendment. That was before Ms. Nappy's bill, or Ms. Nappy's amendment to the bill. But yes, that's where we sit right now. Thank you.
Commissioner
And-
McNish. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Tiffany. You're probably going to answer my question before I even ask it. So.
Oh, okay. So Tina Nappy did reach out to me, and she was really concerned about the fact that there wasn't any oversight by the commission on this, even though there is a separate board that would approve these expenditures. My only concern about that is that if there was an emergency need, and Director Janae can probably answer this for us, if there is an emergency need, do we have time to get the oversight by the commission? Or would it just be that the commission would have to approve it down the road? So I want to make sure that we understand the amendment by Ms. Nappy before we move forward on this.
So did the committee, did it pass through with Tina's amendment then yesterday? It did. Okay.
It did. Yes.
You know, and I told Alan that I was going to reach out. I talked with Alan. I was going to reach out to Tina, and I didn't do that. I would hate, you know, I mean, it's moving forward, but I would hate to lose the opportunity to have this foundation in place. That's the upside's way high. It's got a huge upside, and I'd hate to complicate it with things. It sounds like it made it through, but Tina, your point is well taken, and the Dream Tag system is working very well. It works just fine. I have trepidation with some of these things myself. And I'm kind of setting aside my concerns with feeling like it would be easy to feel like there's the system is trying to circumvent the commission. I'll just throw it out there that that's what the issue is. And I understand that, but this is a big deal. This is an important thing. And I'm trying to set my concern with that off to the side. And let this thing play out. It's got a big upside, and if we have to, we can certainly take a position that we prefer not to see that in there if it's going to cause us problems or challenge the system from working well. But I'd hate to oppose it because of the amendment too. You know what I'm saying? So maybe there's a balance we can strike in there somewhere.
Yeah, this bill was brought forward so that large endowments can be made for use of wildlife and habitat. And it originally had 5 members on a separate oversight board. The 5 members would have been a member from a field related to the management of wildlife appointed by the governor. And then they struck the next 2, 1 member from a field related to the management of wildlife appointed by the majority leader of the Senate, and 1 member from a field related to the management of wildlife appointed by the Speaker of the Assembly. And then they kept the next 2, 1 member with background in the management of rangeland or the management of wildlife appointed by the chair of the commission, and the chair of the commission or a member of the commission appointed by the chair. So there still is a commission representative. Well, there's actually 2 commission representatives. However, we do have another board where we have appointments by the commission that I don't know that we get much feedback from that person in, outside of just like an annual report. That's that Sagebrush Eco Council. I think that's what it's called. But Director Janae, do you have any thoughts on this bill? I mean, I love this bill. I think it's an opportunity for people who have who are really conservationists like Tina to contribute to wildlife. And she was very much in support of the bill. She just wanted that oversight.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Commissioner East. I look at this, and this conversation started when around RAWA. And so the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, in contemplating, the department trying to find the adequate match to take advantage of what could be possibly coming with Recovering America's Wildlife Act funds, which will stretch. And now in trying to find those non-federal dollars to get that $3 of federal match to every dollar. And so that's where this conversation started. We have had conversations with different entities in the past that were contemplating large endowments. Currently in our Wildlife Trust program, where we can currently accept donations, it's not as nimble as what we're proposing in this. It's tough for us to contemplate taking a very large sum, such as, even $1 million, and trying to manage it over time to not just achieve one goal, but achieve multiple goals. And so that becomes very tough underneath that program. Plus, as was mentioned here, is that sometimes in emergency situations, the approval through the interim finance committee process, which is what is required of that wildlife trust account, isn't as fast as could possibly be, facilitated by this or the Dream Tag Foundation. Currently, Dream Tag Foundation will actually, if they know of an emergency, they'll take an emergency request for funding. And so in the past, when we have had emergency water hauls, the Dream Tag is a situation where we can go to, but the foundation here would be able to accept those large endowments as donations, and then also be able to more readily respond in a quick manner versus many of our other funding pots.
I guess I had one real quick question, and then Commissioner Walther. As far as I can tell, there's no stipulations like on the heritage account. There's stipulations on how much money a year into the account can be spent, the interest and whatnot. The way I see this, if somebody gives $1 million, you can spend that $1 million that year. There's no requirements for holding X amount in the account. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, it's not set up because right now is solely a donation account. It doesn't have a revenue generating program associated with it like Heritage or like Dream Tag. It would be solely donation. And so it's tough to contemplate, what you would be trying to do with it and what a donor would want to do with their funds. And so tough to contemplate what type of constraints you would put on an account like that.
Commissioner Walther.
Thank you. So I'm going to kind of throw this out there for Director Janae and Craig. But as I read Tina's proposed amendment, the key language being at the direction, doesn't that give, or in theory, wouldn't that give the commission the authority to, sit down with the department, contemplate scenarios in general, providing the committee a general direction on the way the funds could be spent? In other words, the language in the amendment isn't stated that the commission has to approve every single expenditure. So taking the time with the department and the commission, in theory, with the language as it sits, we could set a broad and general direction and still have the speed and flexibility in the account, in theory.
I agree. In theory, it's just a matter of the management behind it. This would open that door. It's tough to say what the guidance by the commission would be. That's my take. That's why, as Craig Burkett, the legal mind, is actually going to step in and correct me.
Commissioner Walter, sorry, Alan, didn't mean to interrupt. I read it the same way as you do. I think exactly how you stated it is how I interpret it.
All right, any additional questions or comments?
I appreciate that clarification.
Yeah, I do as well. Okay, any additional commission questions or comments? All right, seeing none, because I believe we want to take action on this one. Any cab comment on Assembly Bill 349? All right, seeing none, any public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission.
I will move to approve AB 349 as it was passed out of committee yesterday.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner East, second by Commissioner Walther. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. SB 224 revises the membership of the Board of Wildlife Commissioners. It was heard on April 4th. The bill revises the membership by adding one member from the guiding industry and one county advisory board to manage wildlife member. The commission opposes this bill and there has been no further action. Senate, oh, did you want to add anything?
I just was going to say it has not received a work session or a work session. So I don't think it will move out of committee unless it does late in the week.
Yeah. Okay. Senate Joint Resolution 2 urges Congress to require the United States Board of Geographic Names to consider renaming the Sheldon Antelope Range. It would change it to the E.R. Sands National Wildlife Refuge. This did pass the Senate floor yesterday, April 10th. There's currently no position on the bill. Senate Bill 294 was heard on April 5th. This bill requires the safe storage of firearms in all circumstances. There's currently no position on the bill. Senate Bill 367 was heard last week on April 3rd. The bill prohibits certain people with drug-related offenses from carrying or possessing a firearm. There's currently no position on this bill. Senate Bill 265 deals with health provisions related to barbers. The committee decided to remove this bill from the tracking list, so that was moved down as well. Senate Bill 87 was heard on March 7th. The bill provides an opportunity to appoint persons to classified positions under certain circumstances. The commission does support this bill. AB 361 was heard on March 31st. The bill requires IFC approval for the acceptance of federal grants. IFC may give provisional approval upon application to the grant. There's currently no position taken on this bill. And then I did have one bill to add to your tracking list, and I did provide it as support material. The committee did not discuss this at length because I did not have as support material for the committee, which is why it was provided as support material for today so that you guys could discuss it if you wished. But AB 355 deals with youth use and possession of semi-automatic shotguns and semi-automatic centerfire rifles. It would prohibit a person under 21 from using or possessing either of those. The bill was heard in a joint meeting of the Assembly Committee on Judiciary and Senate Committee on Judiciary. There was a lot of testimony in both support and opposition of this bill. And I requested to add it to your list just because there was testimony on youth use of these for hunting purposes. There was one girl I watched that said that just with her age and being a female, it was hard for her to use pump shotguns. And so anyways, this is our last bill to discuss today.
Yeah, and we did not discuss it, but I did ask Kaylee to put it on our list for today. So we can discuss it now. I don't know if anyone has a feeling about it or not. There are a couple of firearm bills out there, so.
Commissioner Walter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I clear to see what the intent is here, what's going on. I take issue with this bill because, you know, having throughout my adult life taken a number of youth duck hunting, chukar hunting, so on and so forth. You know, I mean, that young woman's testimony is absolutely true. There are circumstances in which it's quite frankly safer to put a semi-automatic shotgun in the hands of one youth over another. And, you know, this would criminalize it. It would criminalize it for the adult to, you know, hand that firearm over to the youth. You know, and for those reasons surrounding hunting, I do take, you know, exception with this bill in particular.
And I agree as well. You know, there's specifically parts of the NRS that, you know, carved out specific items to hunting, and now you specifically, yeah. Mario said it way better than I probably can, but I agree 100%. I absolutely oppose this bill just with the hunting aspect of it. I fully understand the intent behind it, but it will create issues for the hunting public. There's no doubt. Any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none. I guess for Commissioner East, we probably want to take a stance on this. I think. Okay.
I think we probably should, considering the implications.
Yeah, I agree. So if there's no additional commission.
Chair Cadelia, can I ask a question? Because I did not see this in the support material. So Kaylee, was this bill in our support material?
I believe it should have been added. Yes, yes, it is on there as support material.
It's on the very end of it. I didn't see it there. I just wanted to make sure we had something that the public had an opportunity to see before we voted on it.
Yes, I'm looking at it on the website right now under support material. It's AB 355 youth firearm.
It's not on the tracking sheet, but it was in the support material.
That's why I misunderstood. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't doing anything we shouldn't be doing. Thank you.
And I do believe too, Kaylee, we added the updated tracking sheet following the committee meeting. And I think on that updated list, it was on the updated list as well that's posted online.
Yes, that is correct, Chairman Cavilla. There's currently 2 tracking lists on the website, and that's because I wanted to make it clear. The one that was initially noticed had to be noticed before the committee meeting, and that did not have AB 355 on there. And then we uploaded a second tracking list post committee meeting, and that did have AB 355 on there.
Thank you. That helps.
Okay. With that, any additional, Commissioner McNinch?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I missed that one in my packet. I'm sure it's there. I just didn't pull it up. So what exactly does it say?
Sorry, give me a second. I'm pulling it up.
I have it.
Okay.
It's an act relating to firearms prohibiting a person who is less than 21 years of age from possessing certain firearms, making it unlawful to aid or knowingly permit a person who is less than 21 years of age to possess a firearm under certain circumstances, revising provisions relating to the storage of a firearm, revising provisions relating to the handling, possession, or control of a firearm by certain children, providing penalties and providing other matters properly relating thereto. And it, in section 1 is subsection 1, a person who is less than 21 years of age shall not handle or have in his or her possession or under his or her control any A, semi-automatic shotgun, or B, semi-automatic center rifle. A person who violates this subsection is guilty of a gross misdemeanor. Subsection 2 is a person who aids or knowingly permits a person who is less than 21 years of age to violate subsection 1. A, except as otherwise provided in paragraph B, for the first offense is guilty of a misdemeanor, and B, for a first offense, if the person knows or has reason to know that there is a substantial risk that the person who is less than 21 years of age will use the firearm to commit a violent act, is guilty of category C felony and shall be punished as provided in NRS 193.130. And then it continues to go through. It does include the injury or death resulting from accident, which is incident to target shooting, sport shooting, or hunting.
So how does that part blend in?
That's in under subsection 3. A person does not aid or knowingly permit a person who is less than 21 years of age to violate subsection 1 if a firearm was stored in a securely locked container or a location which a reasonable person would have believed to be secure. B, the person who is less than 21 years of age obtained the firearm as a result of an unlawful entry by any person in or upon the premises where the firearm was stored. C, the injury or death resulted from an accident, which was incident to target shooting, sport shooting, or hunting. Or the person who is less than 21 years of age gained possession of the firearm from a member of the armed forces or the United States or a law enforcement officer while the member of law enforcement was carrying out of official duties.
I also just want to clarify, during the hearing, they specifically addressed using these for hunting purposes. I think the bill sponsors knew that it would be a concern for the hunting community, so they specifically pointed out that these guns would not be allowed to be used by youth during hunting activities, but that there are other options for them, like the hand pump or manual shotguns.
And I guess just going along, Dave, further along in the bill, I think it's in section 3, subsection 6. So there's a portion that says, except as otherwise provided in subsection 9, a child who is 14 years of age and older, who has in his or her, this is the existing law, who has in his or her possession a valid license to hunt, may handle or have in his or her possession or under his or her control, without being accompanied by his parent or her parent or guardian, or an adult person authorized by his or her parent or guardian to have control or custody of the child, a rifle or shotgun that is not and this is where they added the language, semi-automatic shotgun, semi-automatic centerfire rifle, or in previous said fully automatic firearm. So that's where it makes the big change to the hunting.
Oh, okay, so my question is, what if they are accompanied by someone? Craig, we might, I'm trying to ask here because, well, these are sticky things because there's so much, I've been wondering when we were going to end up with a bill like this to discuss, at what point we knew it was coming, and to walk that line, because there's such a bigger issue being addressed. What if they were accompanied?
They would have to be accompanied up to the age of 21.
That's right. So does that mean that they can use those weapons if they're accompanied?
I don't think so.
Then why is that provision even in there? Why does it say that specifically? Why is it written that way?
I might be confused, but I think it's because it's written in there because a person who's with them, if they're using that, is guilty of a misdemeanor. So it's specifically stating that that adult with them is going to be charged.
If so, I'm sorry that I should have had this in front of me. I do not. So I'm working, with this vision in my mind that you guys are kind of trying to help set up. So what it says is that if you're 14 to 21, you can use certain weapons if you are not in the company of if an adult is not with you. Is that correct? And it's basically not the automatic, semi-automatic type stuff. Is that correct?
Correct.
That if you're from 14 to 21, you can use certain weapons without an adult present.
Correct. That is not a semi-automatic shotgun or semi-automatic centerfire rifle.
So why is it important to point out with that adult not being present? Is it because, so what if they are present? Does that open the door for these other weapons? Is that the exception that they're trying to build in?
So the way I read it is that there is not an exception as to semi-automatic rifles and shotguns. I think what they're doing in that section, Dave, is because they are criminalizing, the possession or, the handing off of the semi-automatic or shotgun or rifle, is that they're trying to make it clear in this language that weapons that are not semi-automatic rifles or shotguns do not fall under the penalties associated with the semi-automatic or automatic shotgun.
So are we looking at, is there an age gap that we're talking about here? What if they were accompanied? Is that, are we just gonna oppose or not oppose? Or are we trying to build a platform, or how, what are the thoughts here?
The way I read it is, accompanied or not, it's strictly prohibited for anyone under the age of 21 to have in their possession a semi-automatic rifle or shotgun. If accompanied, then the adult could face criminal penalties associated with the scenario.
It looks like Kaylee did post the link to the text in the chat for everyone, so can pull that up too.
Jack Burkett.
Yeah, so finally, my screen's been frozen forever. I'm getting AT&T fiber tomorrow, thank God. And hopefully I'll be able to have better reception and better ability to talk to you all in the future. So I apologize for that. But I finally had a chance to read the statute. I think as Commissioner Walter describes, the purpose of that language is to prohibit absolutely anybody who is between the ages of 14 and, was it 19? I don't have it in front of me again, but from possessing a semi-automatic shotgun or semi-fire rifle. I think that's the clear intent of that statute. Doesn't matter if they're accompanied or not.
Any additional questions or comments or?
You know, I mean, I'm trying to work my way through it a little bit. I guess for me, you know, if for the purposes of hunting or whatever those exceptions were down below, I did find it on my phone here. So those exceptions where it was talking about for the, I'm sorry, it's the, where they can actually have a you know, certain weapons from 14 to 21. I'm not sure. I'm less concerned if for some of those activities, you know, hunting, target shooting, etc. If they're in a company of an adult, that they would be able to handle those other weapons. That would kind of be the platform area that I would work with. Is, you know, that during the you know, if they were if an adult was with them while there was target shooting or you know, or they're hunting or whatever, that it would be appropriate for them to have that. You see what I'm saying? That's where.
I'll just bring this up. I don't know how many people under 21 still would hunt with an adult over the age of 21. There's a lot of kids that hunt on their own, even up to, you know, after 14 or 16 when they can drive, especially in our rural communities. They'll hunt before they'll hunt.
So do you have, are you thinking of an age, or are you just thinking of opening it up?
I'm just stating that I don't know yet. I just don't think that 21 is a.
You make a good point.
Is an age at which we can require, or anyone can require, someone under the age of 21 to hunt with an adult if they're using a semi-automatic. And probably after an age, like Commissioner Walther and Chair Cavilla said, you know, with kids, with some youth, it is a little bit safer. I've never used one hunting, but you know, is it safer for some kids? Up to a certain point, they're probably not going to use it, but I don't know. That's not my experience. I just don't think I don't think we can require, or that we should require, someone under the age of 21 to be hunting with an adult or target shooting with someone over the age of 21 to use a weapon or a firearm of that caliber or class.
Yeah, I don't disagree. 21 is definitely stretching it. I mean, you know, my kid was on his own the second he turned 18, you know, and I'm sure, you know, so I understand that, but I guess I'm asking, so what's the age then? Or do we establish an age? Because I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to see what everybody's thoughts are.
Commissioner Booth.
Thank you. I personally oppose this completely. I don't care if there's an age there or not. I think it's the responsibility of the parent to choose. And as Tiffany mentioned, in the rural areas, there are many kids under the age of 12 that are learning to use automatic rifles, using shotguns, automatic shotguns. So whether it's under the age of 21, 18, or 14, I don't think, in my opinion, it does not matter. I would adamantly oppose this bill.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the same boat. I grew up in rural Nevada, and I have kids now, and I'm thinking about it, about half spooky, but I got turned loose. We would hunt after school all the time, right? My parents would turn us loose, and you know, I think a lot of it does boil down to the parent. But yeah, I mean, it was absolutely common. You know, I grew up in Ely. As kids, we hunted a ton on our own, and that's where I see this being an impact. Yeah, I don't know where you would draw the age line on it. I don't. I think, and like Commissioner McNinch said, I think 21 is a stretch as well. And I fully understand the intent behind the bill. You know where it's coming from, but I have issues there. The additional, Commissioner Rogers.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just like to echo that. I think I after reading through this, have a pretty good understanding, again, what the intent and kind of where it's coming from. But as written today, I would definitely be in opposition as well. I think that age 21 is a tough one as well. But anyway, so yeah, I tend to agree that again, where I stand today is in opposition of this as written.
Any additional commission questions or comments? You got any, Dave, or you just?
No, my phone, if you saw the setup that I have to get through the day, you got me laugh for the rest of the day. I've got my tablet on top of an Easter basket on top of books. Okay. Because I couldn't get my screen to flip a certain way. And so now, I mean, it's anyway, I can't touch anything or it'll fall. You know, and I guess this is where I'm struggling with it is the, you know, it would have affected me, it would have affected my kids. You know, so I understand the need and the desire to try to, you know, try to address the issues but you know, it just doesn't seem to be written with a lot of thought or coordination towards what NDOW and hunting offers. You know, we have a mentor and an apprenticeship program. We have a hunter safety program that we're continuing to try to shore up with we've taken a position to show that we're that hunter safety and hunter and gun handling and gun safety is important to us. We've taken that position today, and we're doing what we can. I think that had there been some collaboration or some coordination with the folks that are proposing the bill with the department or the commission, and you know, try to tie some stuff in so that we could have that conversation about you know, just not prohibiting, but on how an exception could be built in for kids that are doing these activities. I think there might have been some way to build that in, but I agree. I can't imagine a 20-year-old that's been living on their own, going to, you know, their third year of college or second year of college. You know, they've had some experiences, and you know, why stop there? Why not go up to 25 when people's common sense, you know, part of their brain starts to work a little better, you know? You know, and that, I guess, so I'm opposed to it from that standpoint. I wish there was some additional conversation. I think that there were some opportunities that, you know, we could have shored up some more of our stuff the way that we have and made it better. And but I think 21 is just a stretch, and I'm not sure that there's an easy way to fix that. So.
Dag Burkett real quick, and then we'll go to Commissioner Walter.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. And again, I just wanted to kind of, this is my first opportunity to review this statute. And so I just had a chance to review section 7 of the statute, which appears to go through the authorized activities that a child who is 14 years of age or older may engage in without a semi-automatic shotgun or semi-automatic centerfire rifle. In other words, with a pump gun, etc. It doesn't appear to include hunting in the list of authorized activities here. I just walking through it, it looks like they're okay if they're attending a course of instruction in firearms, if they're practicing the use of a firearm at a range, or if they're participating in some sort of competition. And then they're within an area in which the discharge of firearms has not been prohibited by local ordinance. Sorry, and the child is engaged in a lawful hunting activity. I got it wrong. Sorry about that. It took me a long time to get through this statute. So it does look like it authorizes hunting, and I apologize for the interruption. I thought I was going to be helpful to you there.
Commissioner Walter.
Thank you. I just want to add, hunting exceptions aside, or not is, and this can cut both ways, you know, I mean, if you get into issues of mental health or, you know, maturity of specific youth, so on and so forth. But, you know, here you have a bill that prohibits you from essentially touching one until that age. And, you know, I'll just say that growing up, you know, in my household, one, the importance of safe handling was, I mean, taught at absolutely every moment. You know, and I can remember from a very young age, viewing or handling firearms, you know, with my parents. And every time a new firearm was brought out, whether I was going to have the ability to utilize that for target practice or not, I was always shown safe handling, how to handle that specific firearm. Hey, look, you know, maybe you can't use this until you're 12, 15, whatever my parents' rules were at that time. But they always wanted me and my brothers and sisters to have the ability to understand what was safe with that particular firearm or not. And in these instances, you can't do it. So, you know, you have someone set free to adulthood who has absolutely no understanding. There's no training requirement once you purchase one. And I just see that as, quite frankly, causing some other issues down the road as well.
Commissioner Wise.
Yeah, Commissioner Walter actually really covered what I was going to bring up, but that was exactly where I was going to go to. I feel like this essentially prohibits the ability for somebody to learn how to safely handle and live with a firearm throughout their impressionable ages, where their parents can teach them those things responsibly. If the first opportunity you have to touch a semi-automatic weapon is at the age of 21, when you are removed from your parents and family, potentially, that bodes me into a situation where we could end up with more people who have less knowledge about how to handle and safely handle firearms. A lot of us learned at very young ages what you needed to do, what was safe, what was right, how to store, how to handle these things in a way that was responsible. And if we're removing those opportunities for youth, I mean, we're not completely when allowing pump shotguns and things like that, but if they don't have the opportunity to learn and establish what it is and what it means to be a safe gun owner and safe user before the age of 21, I feel like we're potentially creating other problems as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Wise. I see that we lost Casey, but then I also see him in the attendees list. I guess can the department see if we can get him back over as a panelist? All right, with that, if there's no additional commission comment, I'm going to take it out to cab comment. Do we have any cab comment on AB 355? All right, seeing none. Any public comment on AB 355? I don't see anything. So with that, I will bring it back to the commission.
So I'm hearing that we're opposed to this as presented. I don't even know that we could offer an amendment that would suffice any of what we've just said, unless they removed, which they're not going to remove pieces of this, I can't imagine, but because they'd have to rewrite the whole thing. So it looks like we would be opposed to this as presented.
Commissioner McNinch.
So as a platform, I don't think it's a stretch for us to consider. We're not opposed to language that, for the safe storage of firearms. You see what I'm saying? That kind of broad stuff.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I'm not sure what all you would add into that, but that we would be opposed to the bill as it's currently written. So I don't know. Are there other aspects that we wouldn't be opposed to, like the proper use, proper storage? Laws that, and I don't know how far. Where do you go with that? There's such broad statements, but I'd hate for as standing alone in a position, I'd hate for the commission to come off as, anti-gun safety when we just took a position because of gun safety. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not opposed to the storage of it. I'm just opposed to the use.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another bill regarding specific to the storage of firearms, right?
There is. Yeah, it's I want to say it's 294. Right, Kaylee? Have it here. Sheet.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Yes, it's SB 294 is the safe storage of firearms.
Oh, there.
I throw that out. I'm fine if we just oppose. If there was a way to, to continue to shore up that we're not as a commission, we're not opposed to making things more safe and more knowledgeable type of a thing. I would be willing, I'm certainly supportive of that. I would support I would support being opposed to the bill the way that it's currently written. I was just hoping that there was a way for us to make a statement of some kind, I guess. But if that's difficult, then we don't have a lot of options.
Commissioner Wise.
I'll go out on a limb here because I haven't really reviewed SB 294. I didn't realize that was on the list, but perhaps it's possible to review that and potentially take a positive position on the gun storage while still opposing this AB 355. I'm not sure, but it's just a suggestion.
And I kind of agree with Commissioner East. AB 355 for them to try to change anything in there, you'd have to wholesale go in there, and I just don't see it happening myself. They'd have to make massive changes to what they've got proposed.
Haley, this 355 was passed. That was heard in judiciary yesterday or the day before, but did it pass out of judiciary? I don't recall. It was heard in both houses.
Yeah, they did a joint meeting, but I don't see that there's been any action on this bill.
Right. Okay.
And that's what I see as well, is that it was heard in judiciary on the 5th. Action.
So that in other words, since they did a joint meeting, I don't think they'll have another hearing on the bill. So it may be difficult to get them to amend it, since there will probably be no further hearings on it. I mean, it's not to say that they couldn't, but I would say it's unlikely.
All right. I guess, I'll just make a motion. I'm just going to make make a motion to oppose AB 355 as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by myself, second by Commissioner Walter. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries unanimously.
That concluded my list for you guys, but if you guys have any other questions or comments or bills you wanted to go over, I'm here.
I guess I will ask Commissioner East, do you want to take a look real quick at 294?
Yeah, if you'd like to, can we do that, Dag Burkett? I just posted it in the chat. Can we look at 294? It's on the list. It's just not in our support material, I don't believe.
Okay, so it's on the list of bills that you all are tracking.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. So I just posted it in the chat. It really deals with storage. It goes into safe storage. Sections 2, 3, and 4 of this act may be referred to as the Safe Firearm Storage Act. A person commits the crime of unsafe storage of a firearm when the person knows or reasonably should know that a child under the age of 18 or a resident of the premises prohibited from possessing a firearm can gain access to the firearm and fails to responsibly and securely store the firearm. And then it goes into the proximity to the person that could readily retrieve the firearm. The firearm is kept in a locked gun safe or secure container. Probably installs a locking device on the firearm. If you violate this, it's the person who violates the provision of subsection 1 is guilty of a misdemeanor. I'll let you guys read through this. Personalizing firearms with like some sort of technology that allows I think again, it really does prohibit our youth.
You know, in looking at the bill here, there's a lot going on. It's 20 pages.
It is. It is. And it's tough to make a decision on a bill this quickly, I know.
It is. And, you know, I think my whole point that I've been stumbling through was just trying to, create an awareness. And, as a commission, we have we deal with firearms. I mean, that's what we, I think that it's important for us to recognize as a commission, the importance of, the highlighted safe handling and the highlighted safe storage, just the whole aspect around them. I think we do that. I think it's just really forefront when we start talking about these bills, of course. So I'm not feeling like we have to take a stance on a bill to show our support. I think, by having the conversations, and if there is a bill that we can get behind because we're comfortable with it and, we're not reading it last second and that kind of stuff, I think that's great. But I think the whole point is that we're trying to relay to legislators that, we have interest groups that this adversely impacts it. Some of these ideas and these things, and we'd like to have that conversation is important. But also that we're, by our hunter safety program and, that the safety is important to us. And I think that we do that, that we have done that. And I appreciate that we're having the conversations, because I do feel like I don't feel like we're trying to walk away from it. I don't feel that way at all. It's just, how do you put a foot in there and say, hey, we hear what you're saying, and we appreciate the conversation, and don't forget about us over here. We've got a little different circumstance, and to be quite honest, I feel like there's something to be offered by what we regulate over here. And Alana really highlighted that. Commissioner Walter highlighted that kids growing up with this stuff have a way different understanding than people that don't. My grandpa would have put knots all over our head if he knew that we were doing something irresponsible when we were really young going, it was, the safety was first and foremost, for sure.
%. I just want to say, as a person that recommended that we maybe look at SB 294, I didn't realize how extensive it was, but I agree 100% with what Commissioner McNinch has expressed here. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm comfortable making a decision on SB 294 today either. There's a lot going on in there. So I kind of agree with Dave.
And we can watch it, and if need be, bring it back at our next meeting, because I would bet there's going to be a lot of conversation about this.
All right. I see heads nodding. So with that, why don't we let's take a 10-minute break, come back at 10 after 10, and then we'll get going on to agenda item number 4. I guess if Megan's ready, we'll get going, and then Tiffany and Alana can, okay, we'll get going again. All right, agenda item number 4, Regulation Simplification Committee, review of Governor Lombardo's Executive Order 2023-003, Committee Chairman Shane Rogers and Management Analysis Megan Manfredi for possible action. The commission will discuss the Regulation Simplification Committee's proposed regulations or sections of regulations to be simplified, clarified, or removed per Governor Lombardo's Executive Order 3 directive. The commission may take action to create a list for submission to the governor's office of potential regulations to be simplified, clarified, or removed per the executive order. The commission may authorize a report to be provided to the governor in compliance with the directive in the order. And just real quick before we start too, I want to thank the department and the committee. I think the committee, we probably had the easy side of it. The department, I think there was a lot of work putting the list together that the committee went through. So I want to thank Megan and everyone else, and then also the committee. And then you guys, we're going to go through it again right now, but there was quite a bit, and it all happened in a hurry at our typical commission pace. So with that, I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Rogers.
Thank you, Chair Caviglia. Yes, so the Regulation Simplification Committee, we had 2 meetings since our last commission meeting. We met on March 29, and then we met again on April 7. And reason being is we had a number of NACs that we reviewed and made recommendations for clarifications on a number of them, recommendations for removal on others, and of course, in accordance with the governor's executive order. The other reason is we wanted to make sure that we provided ample time for public input throughout this process as we work towards a pretty tight deadline of being on or before May 1st to have something submitted back to the governor's office. So as the chair mentioned, yes, there was a lot of work and effort that by the committee and by staff that's gone into this. So anyway, I think we're at a good spot today to proceed and kind of run through and hear from the commission on some of these items. So anyway, with that said, I appreciate that. And if I could turn it over to Ms. Manfredi.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, members of the Commission, Management Analyst Megan Manfredi for the record. So as Committee Chair Rogers stated, the work you see before you is in the support materials is a result of Governor Lombardo's Executive Order 3. So a list of all regulations that have been heard by the committee can be found in the support materials. This includes regulations that were heard by the committee but removed from consideration at the committee's decision. Full regulation language on those approved by the committee can be found in the support materials. And then based on the consensus of the Attorney Generals, as relayed by Dag Burkett, subsections of regulations can count towards the 10 mandated in the executive order for removal. So following these guidelines, we have 19 regulations for full removal or that have a subsection within them for removal. Altogether, there are 40 regulations in total that, if approved, will be sent over to the governor's office in that report. So I did want to point out some of the regulations included in the support materials are under Agriculture's authority. They are the regulations in Chapter NAC 576. So the Department of Agriculture is working with the Department of Wildlife on these regulations as they pertain to and affect both agencies. The regulations relate to cervids and alternative livestock, which is defined in NRS 501-003 as fallow deer or reindeer. Importation of cervids into Nevada is currently prohibited in NAC 503-110, and these agriculture regulations are no longer needed with that prohibition. So if it is in the agreement of the commission, these regulations will be included in the report the department would send over to the governor's office supporting agriculture on the removal. And then I guess, Chairman, with that, I will leave it up to you or the members to bring any item forward if they have any questions or wish to have an additional discussions, or I guess direction on how the members would like to review the list of regulations.
I guess just how would the commission, would you like, we could have Megan kind of just quickly walk through them, and then if we hit one that you want her to stop at for further discussion on, just speak up. Does that sound reasonable? All right.
Yeah, yeah, Mr. Chair, I do. I think that's reasonable. I know there's a number of them, but some of them are pretty straightforward. Some of them may have some dialogue, but I think it would make sense to run through each of them real quickly.
Okay.
And then, yeah, just if anybody has any questions or comments, just feel free to pipe up.
So there are a handful of regulations in here that are very similar and then I'll group together. But if I need to slow down, please jump in and stop me. Okay. But starting on page 1 of the full list of regulation language in our support material, our NAC 501 chapters, the department proposes the regulation changes here as general, just administrative cleanup. Okay, seeing no comments, I can move on. Batch reports are no longer used by the department in this format. So the term is not found anywhere else in NAC 502 besides this definition. And our process has updated internally. We now run a query of our vendor transactions each month to track product sales and no longer need a report provided by the vendors themselves. Okay, seeing nothing. Moving on, the removal of PII sold in lists. So the department protects a person's personal identifiable information by asking a customer if they would allow their information to be shared by the department to third-party entities who ask for it. This distinction determines if a customer's information can be shared or not by Chapter 239B of NRS. The department also does not sell this information if requested, and so has proposed for this regulation to be removed. Okay. The next are the turkey harvest survey deadlines found on page 2. So the change removes the hard deadlines for submitting a turkey harvest return card and allows for turkey applicants to pay the $50 penalty, submit their late survey, and apply during the next year's turkey application period. The harvest survey deadlines have been added to the application deadlines and draw results dates Commission Regulation 2301 that was approved by the Commission in January of this year. Okay, I'll move on. The turkey bonus points changes clarify the wild turkey bonus point category and would allow for junior turkey bonus point holders to keep their points once they become ineligible to participate in the junior program, rolling them into the wild turkey bonus point category that is used for adults. Okay. The next set, I believe there's 3 regulations here. In the driver's license number on special use permits, show regulation changes that would remove the requirement for an applicant applying for a special use permit to submit to the department their driver's license number. So this change proposed by the department is a way to continue to protect a person's personal identifiable information, as these applications are emailed to department biologists across the state. The department plans to ask for an applicant's client ID on the application instead, which stores personal identifiers in the AMS electronic system. And so if they're ever needed for enforcement purposes, we can research it that way. Okay. Our next regulation begins on page 7 and 8. It is the commercial exhibitions of prohibited wildlife within Nevada, with the actual change found on page 11. So the department proposes removing the portions of this regulation that allow prohibited species to be possessed in the state for the purpose of making income through entertainment of movies or photos, etc. The risk to the state of the prohibited species getting loose outweighed the benefit of allowing them brought in, which is the reason for the proposed change. Okay. Moving on page 12, you will find the archery disability permit regulation. The proposed change here removes the term permanent from the regulation. Some of the permit requests submitted to the department for the archery disability permit could be argued that the injury would not be considered permanent, such as a rotator cuff surgery, which would prevent a a person from drawing a bow at full weight or full draw, but would eventually heal. And so the proposed change here is to accommodate those individuals to allow them to qualify for the permit with the requirement that they reapply for it again if needed the following season. Okay. All right, moving on is a handful of falconry regulations. They begin at the bottom of page 12 and run through page 20. So there's a whole bunch here, but the proposed regulation changes remove repetitive language and clarify falconry definitions. So they remove the term raptor rehabilitator because a raptor rehabilitator could also be categorized as a wildlife rehabilitator. The changes clarify which government agency requires what information and provides bans for the raptors. Again, many of these changes here are considered just general administrative cleanup or clarification. Okay. Hearing no questions, I'm going to move on. So the Crittenden Dake Reservoir regulations in NAC 503 and 504 have been proposed for cleanup and removal because they are considered private property where the department does not have jurisdiction. So this property used to be a cooperative WMA or wildlife management area, and the current owners of the property did not wish to continue managing the property under that co-op agreement. So it is now private property. Okay, the next regulation is the exhibit of wildlife under exhibitor's license. Proposed for removal because the department wants to know what species of animals are coming into the state at all times. So the removal of this regulation would remove the 90-day exemption of the need for a person to obtain a permit from the Department of Wildlife before bringing animals in. Okay. All right, next is the possession of live animals found on page 21. Is proposed for change that would remove the word progeny from the regulation as it contradicts NAC 503.110 that prohibits the possession of certain species. So with that prohibition of the importation and possession of certain species in the state, the intent here is for those permitted and already have a banned species within the state to eventually phase out the permitted animals, the originally or currently held progenies of those animals as they die off. Okay. All right, lastly are the items relating to the agriculture chapters in NAC 576 that affect both agencies, wildlife and agriculture. The removal of these regulations relating to cervids and alternative livestock would comply with the restriction and clear possible confusion of their existence, that their existence might create with the public. So again, animals in the family cervidae are prohibited to be imported into the state from NAC 503.110, and these 576 regulations contradict that prohibition by laying out guidelines on permits needed to import and then the housing requirements of that species, etc. So. And that is everything on my list. So if any member has a question or bring something up for discussion, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, Megan. The committee must have did a really good job. The commission was pretty quiet running through those. The committee had far more discussion. I just want to point out too, you know, we're going to recommend this list to the governor's office, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen with it. If he's going to direct us to act upon it, or, you know, they're going to pick and choose ones he wants to act upon or whatnot. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, I guess. Any additional commission questions or comments? All right, seeing none, Commissioner East.
Sorry, so on this spreadsheet under removed from consideration, those underneath that section are still intact?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
No, go ahead. We discussed those, but the committee, there were some proposed revisions to those sections, but the committee, based upon our discussion, wanted to remove those for consideration.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to clarify. I see removal in that one column, and I just want to make sure that we weren't removing them. They've been removed from consideration.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Any additional commission questions or comments? I don't see any. With that, I'll take it out for cab comment. Any cab comment? Doesn't look like any public comment. All right, I don't see any. With that, I'll bring it back to the commission. Vice Chair Rogers.
Yeah, if there is no additional comment or anything from the commission, I'll go ahead and move to make a motion. And I'd like to move to make a motion for approval of the recommended clarifications and removals as presented under Governor Lombardo's Executive Order 2023-003.
I'll second it.
And I guess for Dag Burkett, the motion needs to be that, is it the direction of the chairman and the department to send that report over? Is that what?
Yeah, exactly. Because you have no, at this point, there's no formal action to remove any of these items from consideration or from statute. That's all going to come down the road for you guys. I'm sorry to say, but since you asked, and I was going to say this earlier, I just want to commend the department and the committee on the hard work that they engaged in here in this process. Because look, this is an interaction between the law and policy that is difficult. It's difficult for the commission to take this on. And I think when we have a requirement of removal of 10 sections or subsections, and this committee and this commission and the department took on and removing 40 from or as a recommendation to the governor. I think that's just above and beyond, and it's not easy either, because I listened to the committee discussions and this commission, and this is hard work. It makes me wonder why you guys want to do what you do. But I just wanted to commend you guys for the hard work on this process, and good job.
So, Mr. Chair, do I need to revise my motion?
I guess that's a question, Craig. So would the motion need to be that the motion would be that direct myself and the department to forward that report of these regulations to the governor's office?
Yeah, so this is your report. This is not the department's. The commission is the subject matter of the executive order. So you would move to that the board through Chair Caviglia make proposed recommendations as defined in your materials to send it to the governor.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we do it right. So
yeah,
back to you, Vice Chair Rogers.
Thank you. So yes, so with that said, on clarification of a motion, I'd like to make a motion for approval by the commission through the chair that we forward on to the governor's office the recommended items as proposed.
I'd second that again.
Okay. So we have a motion by Vice Chair Rogers, second by Commissioner Barnes. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries unanimously. With that, we'll go to agenda item number 5. Review of Governor Lombardo's Executive Order 2023-004, Secretary Janae and Chairman Caviglia for possible action. The commission will discuss Governor Lombardo's Executive Order 2023-004, which requires a report to the governor and director of the LCB by all occupational and professional licensing boards. the commission may take action to authorize a report to provide to the governor in compliance with the directive of the order. And we've all been provided a draft report to the governor's office. And I don't know if Director Janae wants to elaborate on that a little bit, or.
Yeah, I can definitely, for those that I can give an overview. So that executive order 2023-04 was an order directing all Nevada occupational professional licensing boards to suspend the issuance of any new regulations, show cause for all occupational licensing requirements, and to provide a recommended pathway for facilitating licensure reciprocity. Basically, looking at it, section 1 was that piece of the order that said that all licensing boards shall suspend the creation of any new regulations. In that executive order, section 2 is the piece that called out the development of a report to the office of the governor and director of the LCB, detailing all regulations that restrict entry into an occupation. And that's what we provided there. Additional pieces in that executive order were section 3, to the extent an occupation or profession is currently licensed in Nevada, but not subject to license in the majority of the states, license shall be presumed unnecessary, and the board shall provide a recommendation of phasing out licensing by July 1 of 2023. Since guide licensing is found in the majority of the states of the United States, that is not something that was required. And so that was not something this board would have to deal with. And then in section 4, the extent of the occupation or profession that is currently licensed in Nevada allows for license reciprocity. Reciprocity shall be presumed to be possible and appropriate by July 1. And so basically the findings of that report, what it found was because each state has its own laws and those guides have to follow by those wildlife laws of each state, that reciprocity would not be something looked for. But basically when you look at the report, it does, give them the benefit of somebody who guides in another state, their qualifications as stipulated in Nevada would be possible for them to seek a sub-guide or guiding license in this state. But if you would like, it is a pretty succinct report. Definitely wanted to give credit to Law Enforcement Division and to Craig Burkett, who assisted in drafting this and pulling it all together. Some additional pieces that are not attached to the the report that's online. We did copy and supply all associated regulations with that report, but we didn't think it was relevant, particularly to this discussion. But all we did was copy all of the relevant NRSs and NACs and supplied them in that report. So if you would like, I can quickly it is rather information dense, but maybe it's up to you how you'd like to handle it, Chairman. I could just wait, and if anybody has any questions relative to the findings of each section, we could try to address those, or if you want, I can try to walk through it.
Yeah, I guess, everybody's been provided it. Has everybody had a chance to review it? And does anybody have any questions or comments on the Commissioner McNinch?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at the bottom of page, the third page under response to section 3, the end of that paragraph, it does reference one of NDOW's recommendations to the governor. And I'm not sure if that was intended to be the department's recommendation or if it was speaking on behalf of the commission, is to allow for unlimited test taking for applicants for guide licensing. NDOW does not recommend any further revisions to guide license. We actually removed that provision from consideration. So we probably should take that out.
Thank you for that catch, Commissioner McNinch, I did have that as a note and I forgot to mention that, is that was at that time something that was being considered by that committee. So we will update that and push that back to the end of these.
Any additional questions or comments? I guess, does anybody want Alan to walk through it in specifics, or have everybody had a chance to review it? Doesn't look like anybody wants you to walk through the specifics, Alan, so we have all been provided it. So if there's no additional commission questions or comments, I'll take it out for cab comment. Any cab comment on Zoom? Doesn't look like any public comment. Again, it doesn't look like any. So with that, I will bring it back to the commission.
I read through this, unfortunately fairly quickly, but I did read through this. I guess, we've all heard the issues with guides over the last, some guides, not all guides, over the last several years. And I guess I just wonder if there's ever an opportunity to address some of that. How would that happen? Maybe it's not here, but would that happen in any form? Could we address some of those issues at some point?
For me, I think this was trying to simplify things, right? I think was the governor's intent. So I think with this response, definitely no, but yeah. But I don't disagree. In the future, there might be a need, because it has come up multiple times, to try to put some more, I guess it would be more restrictions on the guiding industry to mind their P's and Q's. But I don't know if it would be the right, and this is me just thinking out loud, but I don't think this response is the right place to weave that in.
Right. No, I didn't think so, but I just wondered if there's an opportunity down the road. So that was just my only comment. Otherwise, I think all of this has been very well done.
Additional commission questions or comments? Or motion? Commissioner McNinch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, with that, then I'll make a motion that we approve the report as it's been presented with the noted change, and also with the idea of giving you, Mr. Chairman, a little bit of editorial. What's the word I'm looking for?
License.
Thank you. Editorial license as necessary to finalize the document.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner McNinch, second by Commissioner East. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries unanimously. And I want to thank the department and Dag Burkett for putting that together. I think it was very well done. So with that, we'll move to agenda item number 6, future commission meetings. Secretary Janae and Commissioner Cavilla for possible action. The next commission meeting is scheduled for May 5th and 6th, 2023. The commission will review and discuss potential agenda items for that meeting. The commission may change the date, time, and meeting location at this time. The chairman may designate and adjust committee assignments and add or dissolve committees as necessary at this time. Any anticipated committee meetings that may occur prior to the next commission meeting may be discussed. And I think we do have the Heritage Committee meeting correct in May before I know about that one. Possibly the legislative committee meeting again.
Yeah, I think I had asked for ours to be on that May 5th morning, if that's possible. If not, we could do it on the 6th, either day. But I think the 6th is going to be a long day, so maybe the 5th. Or we could do it in advance of, if that's if the agenda is stacking up to be heavy.
I think,
Go ahead.
yeah, Chairman, if we look at, we could possibly continue with the practice of the past, which is doing the Heritage Committee on the afternoon of Thursday, May 4th. And then that would open the window for that opportunity of a legislative committee meeting on the morning of May 5th. To the point of Commissioner East of May 6th will be a very busy day.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have a problem with that. And then I guess too, one other item, Alan, that I was wondering if we want to put on the agenda, at the last commission meeting, there was a discussion about the edible portions of those bears and mountain lions, and then Dag Burkett provided us all with a pretty detailed analysis of the NRS and NACs related to that. I'm curious, maybe on Friday, if we wanted to just add a quick presentation where they could run through that for us, and the public could take a look at that as well.
I think we could do that. We could add that to that Friday. We can amend that agenda and include that as a report, informational report.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions or comments on the May 5th or 6th meeting? And do we need to take it out for action? I mean, we're not going to take any action on it. Should we take it out or no? Okay. All right, with that, I'm going to go to public comment period. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. No action can be taken by the commission at this time. Any item requiring commission action may be scheduled on a future commission agenda. Any public comment? I don't see any. So with that, we will be adjourned and we'll see everybody in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you all.